Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. Stand up for your country. Had an extensive conversation with President Trump this morning. It's always, I don't know what the word is. It is a privilege to talk to any president, even the bad ones. I respect the office that much. But when you're talking with a contemporary president who you've known for 35 years, it is, I still can't process it all. But anyway, the president called me because he saw the No Spin News and our reporting on the China situation with this Singham guy in Shanghai funneling millions of dollars into the USA that are going to 501c nonprofit radical left organizations to foster violence and chaos in Minneapolis, Portland, LA, and other places. The president watches the No Spin News on a regular basis, comments a lot, but this one was serious. So he asked me if I would send him our backup for what we have. Now, ordinarily, I would not do that as a journalist. I mean, what we assemble here in-house is protected by the First Amendment. But it's the President of the United States. And this is a horrible situation that is damaging our country. So I decided to send him what we had. And I think I made the right decision. I'd back it up 1,000 different ways. But my job is not only to analyze the news honestly, and I do, but it's to look out for you. And if we're going to have an adversarial country, China, all right, through an American citizen, this guy Singham, funnel money into here to cause violence and death, everybody's got to know. So the government does know, as we reported, the House Ways and Means Committee are on this guy Singham. They have known about it for a while, but there's not an urgency until this morning. President Trump was urgent about this. I got it over to him fast. My staff is the best. And we encapsulated, boom, 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 A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that reporting has not been challenged. And it won't be. All right, we're serious people here. You got the President of the United States and world leaders all over the globe watching this broadcast because they know we're serious people. We broke this story. Others had mentioned it, but we did all the work to link it all together. And I thought you should know about that conversation. So talked a little bit about Iran, which is obviously heating up as the U.S. Navy shot down a Iranian drone today. He asked my opinion. I gave it to him. I'm not going to share it here because it's not the right place. And I could be wrong on Iran. I'm not wrong on China and violence and all of that. But Iran, I don't have the connections that I do have other places, like Russia. I told the president, because he read Confronting Evil about Putin, who's on the cover, and the Ayatollah Khomeini's on the cover. How ironic. All right. I said the trade deal with India, which we'll tell you about in a little while, where Modi, the president, says he's not going to buy any more Russian oil, is huge. Putin's furious. Absolutely furious. And the president said, well, how do you know that? I said, because I got guys over there. I can't tell you who they are because if Putin ever found out, he'd kill them. He would. But Putin knows. India cuts off their oil purchases from Russia. And then you got Xi coming up in April, okay, which could happen too. It's it for Vlad. So all of this, talk about waking up in the morning. Wow. All right, talking points memo, death on the left. Okay. Ma'am Donnie, 34 years old, elected mayor of New York City. New York is having the worst cold wave it's had in 4 decades. 16 people dead so far, 13 hypothermia. 13 froze to death. Why? Because Mandami is not forcing homeless people into warming centers, as every other mayor in New York City's history has done. Let that sink in. 34-year-old guy can't run a Taco Bell. He's running the largest city on earth, in the United States. Okay? 13 people froze to death because Mandami will not enforce the cold weather emergency program, which is now turned into Code Blue. Very simple. When a New York City police officer sees someone in distress and it is below freezing, the officers take the person into custody and bring them to a shelter or a warming center. And Dami says no. Didn't order it. There's no official order, but the cops are standing down. Okay. We all have the picture here. Now, Mandani's got to explain himself with 13 hypothermias, correct? Here's what he said.
The deaths that we have seen, at this time, it does not appear there is any relationship between encampments and what we've seen with these 16 New Yorkers. The policy on encampments, we have long said that it was a failure to pursue a policy in the manner that the previous administration did, and we've said that it's a failure because of its having only connected 3 New Yorkers with permanent housing over the course of 365 days.
That's just gibberish. That's all it is gibberish. You know? It gets me angry. Answer the question. Why didn't you take all these people in? Why'd you leave them out there in 2-degree weather? Why? Oh, they have a previous policy. Come on. So, I'm not going to accuse the mayor of a crime, but neglect? My God. Minneapolis, same thing, different scenario. This is going to be harsh, but here it is, and it's true. If Walz and Frey, governor and mayor of Minneapolis, had done the right and legal thing and provided protection for ICE from state and city cops, the 2 people who are dead would be alive today. That is the truth. So Renee Good and Alex Preddy would be alive because what they were doing was interfering in a federal investigation. The local police could have prevented them from doing that by arrest or just telling them, move along. For example, if the Minneapolis police had been on Preddy's block when they should have been because they knew there was trouble there, but they stood down, they could have blocked Preddy from coming at the ICE agents, which he did. Preddy went out of his way to insert himself into an investigation. The Minneapolis cops could have blocked that, but nobody in there. Same thing with Good in the car. The Minneapolis cops could have gone up to the car, said, move along, madam, or you're going to be arrested. If she didn't move along, they arrest her. ICE agents should not have to do that. They should not be in danger. The local cops should be providing security. That's called public safety. Right? So now we got 13 dead because of the communist Mandani in New York City, and 2 dead because of the far left radical governance of Minnesota. Now, am I surprised? No. This happens in every totalitarian left-wing place on the planet. I mean, look, if you read Confronting Evil, all right, you see every single communist and socialist nation does this stuff. They don't care about human life. On and on and on and on. So I wanted to bring it to your attention because it's going to get worse. You cannot have a system where some laws are obeyed and others aren't. You cannot allow people to freeze to death. You have to forcibly remove them. The drug addicts don't care if they die. I know that. But we as a society have to care. Don't we? And that's the memo. If you are a homeowner, there's no better time than now to call American Financing to wipe out that debt, eliminate the stress, set yourself up for a strong 2026. The Fed dropped rates for the fourth time in December. American Financing can help you access that equity in your home at an interest rate that's in the low fives. That is a much lower rate than the average 20% or more credit card rate. American Financing is saving their customers an average of $800 a month. There are no upfront fees, no obligation to see how much you can save. If you begin today, might be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. So please call 888-462-9557. 888-462-9557. AmericanFinancing.net/bill. Today, President Trump meeting with Gustavo Petro, the Colombian president. Colombia, not an important country for the United States. We trade with them, but not a big deal. The problem with Colombia is narcotics, okay, particularly cocaine. Crack cocaine, powder cocaine. And remember, fentanyl is now put in the cocaine. I think that's what killed Tommy Lee Jones's daughter in San Francisco. So I don't have inside information here, but what I suspect is that Colombia and the United States will reach a deal to share resources or something to fight the drug traffickers inside Colombia. I believe that will happen. Let's put it that way. India, I went over it with you. I can't tell you what a big story this is. And of course, the media ignores it because it doesn't help them damage Trump by saying, hey, the president's doing pretty well overseas. And he is. I mean, the presentation about Greenland, I told him, if you guys, I said, look, you can't be threatening invading Greenland. But I knew it was going to work out, just like Panama worked out. But if you go down the list of accomplishments overseas, for Donald Trump, it's phenomenal. There's nobody close to him in modern times as far as foreign affairs. Problem is that Americans don't care about foreign affairs. And when I say problem, I'm talking about the midterm elections. So emerging as the major problem for the Democratic Party and President Trump is the cost of health care insurance. That is worrying people. It's out of control. And I don't know what the president's going to do about it. Very complicated issue. A couple of polls. Used to be the Kaiser Family Foundation. That's not. They changed their name to KFF. They did a poll. Okay, 1,400 U.S. adults. First question. Thinking about the past year, would you say your cost of living has increased a lot? 50%. Whoa. Increased a little. 32. That's 82%. Stayed about the same, 12. That is not a good number for the president. Second question, how worried are you to be paying these bills, health care? Very worried, 66. Not worried, 34. Food, 57 worried, 43 not. Rent, mortgage, 52 worried, 48 not. Monthly utilities, 57 worried, 43 not. Pew poll, this is different than the poll I just gave you. It's very simple. Do you approve or disapprove of Donald Trump's handling his job? Approve 37, disapprove 61. Obviously, that is not a great number for Donald Trump. Next question, do you think Trump administration's actions since taking office last year have been better than expected, about as expected, worse? Better, 21, about 28. That's 49%. That's not a bad number. Worse, 50. So it's about a tie. Another poll. This is the McLaughlin poll. Now, John works for President Trump. So it's a Republican-generated poll. That being said, John McLaughlin's been very accurate. We wouldn't use him if he wasn't. So, 1,000 likely voters. The Pew poll is 8,500 U.S. adults. Nothing to do with likely voters or registered voters. Okay? These are the people who are avid under McLaughlin. Question, do you approve or disapprove of the job Donald Trump is doing? Approve 50, disapprove 47. That is the biggest discrepancy I've seen quite some time. Okay? Do you support or oppose deporting known criminal and terrorist migrants? Support 87, oppose 10. Do you support or oppose deporting all migrants? Support 62, oppose 32. That startling number right there. Joining us now is John McLaughlin from upstate New York. So when you saw the Pew poll goes way the opposite way of your poll, you said to yourself, what?
Let me check the internals. Let me check the demographics, how they did it. And it's only, it's literally 28% Republican. We model ours after actual voter turnout. My survey matches up with the CNN exit polls from the last presidential race. Their poll, we had Republicans 35%, Democrats 34%, very close to the CNN poll. Their poll has only 28% Republicans.
So are you saying they cooked the books here?
Sure, they've been cooking the books. These media polls have been cooking the books against Trump since 2016. Remember the Hillary lock? There was no way Trump could win.
All right, so that's a pretty strong accusation you're making against Pew, that they're cooking the books. They're trying to get the negative number to hurt Trump going forward. And you believe that?
Oh, I believe it. Because it's adults, and they know it's not apples to apples, but they get a big headline. And you look at polls, I mean, there's been a series of them in the last couple of weeks. Our friend Larry Kudlow did a series on this, where you have when you look at the New York Times poll that was registered voters, they only have 38% Trump voters. We got 50 in the last election. We got 50% of the vote. We won the popular vote. You have polls like the Economist YouGov. They come out with a poll where they had in their poll, you're referring to notes, I got to refer to my notes, but they had more Harris voters, 46%, to only 34% Trump voters out of 1,722 adults. This is adults. They could be interviewing illegal immigrants for all I know. And you have the same thing with Pew, where Pew, it's adults. And they do it with an online panel.
I believe you. You don't have to convince me any further. I believe you that they're not honest polls. No surprise in this country at this point. Now, when will the polling matter for the midterms? Still 10 months away. And when do you think that people will begin to lock in on? Because this is vitally important for President Trump.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think the voters pay much attention to the polls as we do. They're going to vote based on their own situation. And we have the Republicans down to in the generic ballot. Most of last year, and certainly in 2024, the Republicans were ahead in the generic ballot for Congress, which it doesn't, when you come down to it, it matches up by people vote on the names that are in their district. And but generically, the Republicans shouldn't be 2 points behind the Democrats. The Republicans need to get much more aggressive. They need to run a contrast election. For example, in that same poll where we had 87-10, they favored deporting criminal illegal immigrants. In the same poll, when we asked, would you defund and abolish ICE, 46% of all voters said they would, 48 didn't. And when you're looking at disconnect, well, who is going to deport criminal illegal immigrants? It's the immigration. So the Democrats, and you mentioned it up front about this fellow Neville Singham from overseas funding a campaign against immigration. If you get rid of the immigration police, you have open borders. You then the country's destabilized, and these illegal
people don't link it together. It's all an emotional response. We know that. But this healthcare and insurance situation, coupled with car and house insurance, insurance companies are battering the American people. I talked to President Trump about this.
Right.
And, if that continues unabated for the next 10 months, the Democrats could win on that alone.
Right. And we did a survey for the Great American Health Alliance. Last week, it was released in Washington. Almost 4 to 5 voters support healthier savings accounts. This was an idea Steve Forbes came up in 95, 96, the presidential race, where you get money that's tax deductible, could be your own money, could be your employer's money, It's in an account, and you buy insurance above that.
Trump
to
did
pay
that.
for any catastrophe.
Trump
Excuse
announced
me?
that last week.
Right. What a coincidence. But it's you now you have to get Congress to change the laws to allow this to happen.
Okay,
And people,
but maybe
right.
they will and maybe they won't. The
Mm.
messaging, though, on all of this, look, it's very clear, John, and I don't know how you, as opposed to you, process this. There are two issues the press, the media is driving: Epstein and ICE. They don't want to
Right.
know about India or favorable trade agreement, or they don't want to know about savings accounts that would, provide money for kids, and they don't want to know about any of that. Okay,
Right.
because the two issues that they've latched onto, they believe the corrupt American media will damage the Republicans and Trump in November. So they're going to just jam this all
Right.
day long, every day, and that's what's happening. So how do you overcome that?
You have to overcome it the way President Trump did in his last campaign. The tough part is he's not on the ballot this time. And
But he
he's
really
going out.
is. He really is.
He is. Well, but it's the disadvantage because people are voting on you as a national referendum, even though you're not on the ballot.
Right, right.
Has to get outside the beltway. In the campaign, we broke through the mainstream media by going out directly to the voters using social media. President Trump did like over 100 policy videos. People that would go to his rallies, we might get 100,000 people there. You would have hundreds of thousands of people send us emails and texts trying to go. The campaign could then use that information to promote ideas and our position on the issues and do a contrast, a straight contrast with the Democrats. President Trump ran because he ran directly against Biden and Harris's failed policies. The Republicans need to hold Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries accountable for open borders, for wanting to raise taxes. How can they talk about affordability when every Democrat in the House voted to raise taxes by 4.5 trillion this year? That's what they did last year. They voted to do
Yeah,
that.
they voted against the bill that
But
would
no
drop
one's holding
taxes.
them accountable. We have to get out there. We have to
All
go
right.
outside the beltway.
Well, I don't know about the we, but it's going to be tight. But I think things will happen. Dramatic things are going to happen in the next 9 months that will, and we really appreciate you talking to us, John, from time to time. If you see any trends emerging, let us know. I think about September, the polls will really start to matter. And thanks for coming on tonight. Let's face it, the U.S. economy is under stress. National debt rising, trade war shaking the markets. And meanwhile, China is dumping the dollar and stockpiling gold. That's why I protected my savings with physical gold and silver through the only dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. And you can do this. Get precious metals delivered to your door or place in a tax-advantaged gold IRA. They'll even help you roll over your existing IRA or 401k, tax and penalty free. With billions in precious metals delivered, thousands of five-star reviews, and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, you can trust American Hartford Gold as I do. Please call 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Again, that's 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. If you are stressed out about getting out of debt, please listen to this. According to the Federal Reserve's latest survey, many banks have tightened their standards, which means right now could be your best window for negotiating settlements before lenders tighten up even further. And Done with Debt is one of the best I've seen at navigating debt relief. Done with Debt tracks credit card and loan company behavior, so they know who's negotiating and when, and how to get you the biggest reduction possible without bankruptcy or new loans. Done with Debt helps you through the debt relief process so you can keep more of your paycheck every month. So don't wait for lenders to tighten up their policies. Visit donewithdebt.com now. Talk with a debt specialist. It is free. Donewithdebt.com. Okay, final thought of the day. I'll be at the Super Bowl unless I keel over or something, but got a lot of business out there in San Francisco. over the weekend. We are going to have a special on Thursday. And this is not just for sports people. I want to emphasize this. So this is Super Bowl 60 that's happening on Sunday. Super Bowl III was the biggest upset in football history, okay, as far as the playoffs are concerned. That was the New York Jets against the Baltimore Colts. The third time Super Bowl was played. Everybody thought the Colts were going to win except me, because I knew the Jets, and they practiced a half mile from my home in Levittown, and I used to ride my bike all the time, and I knew the Jets were going to win. One other guy knew, the quarterback, Joe Namath. Okay, so we have a special on Thursday. Me going one-on-one with Namath. Roll the tape for a preview. Some of the Jet players have told me that after the game was over and you were on the field, none of the Colts came over to congratulate you.
I don't know. I wasn't looking for him.
But do you remember anybody coming over? Did Don Shula come over? Did anybody come over and say, Joe, excellent game? Did anybody do that?
Yeah, I believe Ordell Bracey may have a linebacker. There isn't.
Yeah, he's a good
He asked me, and he told me to remember the Lord. Remember Jesus Christ. I
Okay,
said, I
so one
always
did.
do,
But they didn't come over in a mass congratulations. They were mad.
well, I imagine they were sick too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, they fully expected to win, and they were overconfident. You know, they ran through the NFL that year, man. They had a really good team.
It's a really good interview. And we talk about Joe Namath's prediction that he would win the game. He got in trouble for that prediction. And I love Namath. I just think he's the greatest guy. He's 82. He's become a very good friend of ours. He was nice enough to sit down and give me all the inside stuff. So that will be on Thursday in this space. I will be on a plane heading out to San Francisco, where they love me. You know they love me out there. They can't wait for O'Reilly to pull into town. I'm going to be tweeting all throughout the weekend. You guys are going to like it. I'm meeting up with my pal, Stephen A. Smith. Boy, oh boy, this is going to be something. Thank you very much for watching and listening to the No Spin News this evening. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today. Joining us now from Denver, Colorado, is Frankie Wilmer. He's a PhD, professor of political science at the University of Colorado, Boulder, which has a lot of liberal people and Democrats. I worked in Denver for a couple of years. I'm well versed at the UC Boulder. So first of all, Doctor, thank you for helping us. And am I making any mistakes?
Not so far, for sure.
So
I have to tell you something, though.
Go ahead.
This is the time we met. Did you mention I was a legislator, right, in elected office for 8 years? I actually bought political ads on your AM radio talk show.
Good. And I hope they helped out. Well, you
That was
are
a long time.
you are a registered Democrat, because I asked my staff, I said, get me a smart Democrat. Get me somebody who's not going to come in here and just throw propaganda my way. So from your perch in the Rocky Mountains now, do you see any hope for your party in the next few years?
Well, you talked about the polls. The polls go up and down. There have been times in the past. You said this is the lowest point for Democrats in
35 years. Yeah.
35 years. And just in 2014, 2013, and 2017, polls showed Republicans at about the same place. So it's even more recently. So, yeah, they go up and down. I don't think we've seen the effects of the tariffs whenever they're going to come and go on inflation. We definitely have not seen the impact of the Medicaid cuts, especially to the rural hospitals and health caregivers. And those rural states are mostly red too, by the way. So I think that's going to have an impact. And, we talked about the cratering of support for or favorability for Democrats, Donald Trump's popularity has been cratering as well. I mean, he's at 37, we're at 33, but the
Well,
Republicans.
he's 46 in the Journal poll.
Well,
And
and Gallup poll July 7th through July
yeah,
20.
you know, but
Okay.
we
And
know
haven't
we
even
know where he
seen
is.
We haven't even
know,
seen the
right?
impact.
Okay, all
The
right.
Gallup poll is pretty reliable. The point is that the Republicans control all three branches. They control both houses and the presidency, and they have more Republican appointed Supreme Court justices.
Well, the
So-
only hope you have is if people turn on Trump. But my analysis is, even if that happens, they're not going to vote. They're not going to vote for you guys. They're not going to vote for you guys because all of the things that I listed are in stone. They happen. So if say there's an independent voters and they make the calls now, and they go, I don't think Trump's doing a good job for whatever reason, some of the reasons that you mentioned. They're not going to go in and pull a lever for Democrats after Biden and Harris and all of these people disappointed everybody so badly. They just won't vote.
Biden's first election and Obama's two elections both polled very positively with independents. And as you know, this same Wall Street Journal poll shows that independents were the biggest chunk of losses for the Republicans, 29% or something down among independents. So yeah, swing voters are where it's at. I actually think part of the problem is that voters, first of all, as you know, politics is mostly emotional, not so rational. It's about how people identify and how they feel about things. And so that can be very different than reality. And that's about getting the message and the messengers to deliver the message in a clear.
But who's the messenger? You don't have a leader. Democratic Party has no leader.
It's not just that. I could go through a list of people. You name some of them. I think they're very articulate.
But nobody knows who they are. There's not one Democrat outside of the communist
faction. Until
faction.
the convention, nobody knew who Obama was either. So in the next,
okay, but we're talking
closer to the election cycle, to the campaign cycle, messengers will emerge.
Who?
Buttigieg, Gretchen Whitmer.
Buttigieg? You can't eat. The air traffic controller situation is desperate.
Gavin Newsom. We've got plenty of.
Well, Doc.
I like Wes Moore.
But nobody knows who the governor Moore. Nobody knows who he is. Gavin Newsom is poison for your party. You've got to know that.
It's not time. But I want to make a little bit of a different point on kind of as a political scientist. The voters clearly in the Mamdani, I know you're going to call him a communist. We'll talk about communism later maybe. But his election in the mayoral primary, Democrat, and Biden's Trump's election as president has a really clear message for all of us, which is voters are tired of and they don't want to support candidates who are canned, candidates who are scripted, candidates who are handled.
I agree with that, but you're getting you're putting. Remember, Doctor. Remember Sarah Palin when she got the nomination in Minneapolis. The famous line that she stole, you're putting lipstick on a pig, all right? So Mamdani is a communist. The guy wants to seize...
Democratic socialist, just like everybody.
That's what he says he is. But then when you read his screeds, he wants to seize control of the private economy, which is... Yes, that's what he said. That's what he said.
But I've listened to him 4 times.
I live here.
Hour.
You live there. I live here.
All the people who
I know what he says. Okay.
Right, so my point, he's a socialist Democrat, just like everybody in Scandinavia is a democratic socialist, and they're not communists.
Way more than that. Way more than that. Now listen, if you're going to bank on Mamdani to be a positive for the Democratic Party, you're going to be sorely disappointed.
I said that was the message of his win.
His win was 22%. Only 22% of the Democratic registered voters cast a ballot in the primary. That was nothing. It's New York. It's chaos. He's not going to win. He's not going to win the mayoral race. But what they're going to do,
we can talk about the mayoral race another time. The point is,
no, we're not. We can talk about it now. The Republicans, Doctor, Give me 30, I'll give you 30. Republicans are going to tie a millstone, the Democratic millstone, is going to say Democrats right around this guy's neck. Okay? And that's what they're going to do because he's so far out there. But just the fact that you brought him up, and we're talking about him now, shows there isn't one mainstream Democrat, not one, okay, that can spur the message of the Democratic Party. There isn't anybody.
I like Chris Murphy. I like Wes.
Who is he? Nobody knows him.
Chris Murphy. Gavin Newsom. I like.
Gavin Newsom?
We've had presidents who lost their first run and then won the second term. And presidents, 2 times, Cleveland and Trump, won a first term, lost a second, came back for a third. So I don't write off Kamala Harris even.
I got one specific question for you. When Gavin Newsom took over from Jerry Brown in California, the state had a surplus of more than $100 million. They are now $34 billion in debt or something. And you like him?
I said I like him. I have
What? You like his hair? Come on. Guy's as inefficient as any politician I've ever seen. And Buttigieg is second. You can't even get on a plane.
Said, Bill, I'm going to go back to 2 things you said. One is that DEI is about showing favorability for people because of their skin color. That is not what it is.
Equity, that is what equity is, and that's in DEI.
People who want to misinform and mislead the public are saying that, but I worked in that business in civil rights legislation.
Look up equity. Favoritism to certain groups.
Look it up. Favoritism for white men for 200 years.
So what? So what?
Favoritism.
You don't correct a historical wrong by instituting another wrong.
I've heard you say that before too, but you know what? You didn't write the Constitution, and still you want the rights that it presents you. So I
want everybody to have an equal opportunity to pursue happiness.
You can't just pick the parts of history that benefit you.
Look, come on, doctor. You know DEI is deeply unpopular. You know it's deeply unpopular.
About what it is. It's unpopular the way it's presented, the way you just said, which is not what it is.
Yes, it is.
No, it
isn't. Yes, it is. It's favoritism towards certain groups.
No.
Don't give me that. It is favoritism.
Recruit a workforce, a qualified workforce that looks like America. It's that simple.
That's favoring certain people based on skin color and ethnicity.
It's an aspiration, not a policy.
Aspiration is fine. Knocking people out because they're not the right color isn't, and that's what the Democrats support.
The Supreme Court has ruled on this. That's not.
Why do you think DEI is so far down in the polls? Do you realize it's 65%?
People like you who are giving misinformation to people.
My information, look it up. Look up equity. Look up the definition.
I could read you Title VII, word for word. It prevents employment, fiscal, financial, credit, housing discrimination against protected classes of people.
That's fine.
That's fine.
We're talking about hiring and admissions to universities. You don't do that on skin color. And they have been doing it, and you know it.
The Supreme Court has said that you don't. The Supreme Court agrees with that.
And you don't think colleges and employers do that? You don't think Boulder does that? Come on.
I don't think they choose a less qualified person because of their skin color. No.
All right. Look, I want to go next time you visit the Land of Oz. I want to go with you.
Is this Land of Oz?
I appreciate the lively debate, Doctor. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's talk about something big pharma doesn't want you to hear. The government and drug companies suppress treatments like ivermectin and others, not because they didn't work, but because they threatened their billion-dollar vaccine rollout. They want control over your health, but when it comes to your health, you should be in charge. I trust All Family Pharmacy. They provide ivermectin, antibiotics, more essential treatments that can be hard to find. They handle prescriptions shipped directly to your door in days, no hassle, real options. Stock up now so you're prepared, whether it's for illness, travel, or just peace of mind. You never know when you'll need these medications. So please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use the code BILL10 for 10% off. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. familypharmacy.com/bill, code BILL10. All right, NYC shooting, it's a saturation coverage. You know all about it. Some nut walks into a building in Midtown Manhattan and he kills 4 people, including a NYPD officer. All right. Shane Tamura, 27, African-American, shot himself after he killed the 4. Horrible. Could have been anywhere. At the same time he was doing this, there was a mass shooting in Reno, Nevada. It got no coverage. Now, this is elevated because a police officer was shot. And his name is Didarul Islam. Now, interesting story here with this man. 36 years old, immigrant from Bangladesh. Of course, he's legal. He signs up to the cops 3.5 years ago. He's a good man by all accounts, 2 young sons, wife pregnant, okay? And he's dead because this nut shot him for no reason. And I've been looking at the motivation, which is the important part of the story. So this guy was really insane, the shooter, Tamara. He writes a suicide note that says he has a brain disease and it's the National Football League's fault. He has a brain disease. He never played football. So he walks into the building where the NFL headquarters are. That's the story. Totally out of his mind. Okay? Now, the bigger picture is that I said this could happen anywhere, and it's absolutely true. But in New York City, there is a climate of fear. After this broadcast, I have to go into that city, all right, 100 degrees. And everybody knows me. I'm a hometown boy. And I talk to people, and they're afraid. And here's what I said on News Nation last night. Go. The state of the country is this. In the rural areas and in most smaller cities, you don't have this chaotic anarchy as far as crime. In states like Texas and Florida, big states, all right, throughout the South, they do enforce the law. They punish violent criminals harshly, okay? There is a separation. The only solution to violent crime is punishment. That is it. I wrote a book called Confronting Evil. It'll be out in September. All of these evil mass murderers got away with it because the people in their countries looked away. Just like the people in Los Angeles and San Francisco, New York City, on and on. They looked away. You will not stop these monsters unless you punish them. Now, New York City has declined in social order significantly. Everybody knows that. All right, the past 12 years have been horrific under de Blasio and the current mayor, Eric Adams. Why? Because the legislature in Albany passed a law that says you can commit a violent crime. You can punch somebody in the face, breaking their nose, and you will not be held on any bail at all. You can go out and punch somebody else. Okay? That's insane. Because Democrats control New York City and state. And there isn't any Democrat who is opposed to it. So social order has declined drastically in almost every area. The city is filthy. The subways in certain lines are dangerous. The thugs run wild. The drug addicts are ruining neighborhoods. This is a quality of life. Now, when you have that atmosphere in any city, San Francisco probably the best example, all right? Violence rises. The violent culture kicks in. Now, that's not to say this guy, because he's from Nevada, the shooter yesterday, all right, was part of that culture, but he came to New York, all right, and was I surprised? No, because I see violent crime every day in this city. I wasn't surprised. Joining us now is Rafael Mangual. He is a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute. The Manhattan Institute studies New York City, all right, and state to some extent. So Rafael wrote a book called Criminal Injustice, what the push for decarceration and depolicing gets wrong, and who it hurts the most. All right, now, we have a mayoral race coming up, as everybody knows. And this ma'am, Donnie, who won the Democratic primary, is a communist. And he wants to basically, he's not going to admit anymore, he wants to defund the police, even though he said that. But he is anti-police. He doesn't believe in, and the only thing that's keeping New York City even afloat is the police department. That's it. Okay? And he'll not attack, but he'll marginalize the police department if he wins. Are you with me so far, Raphael? Do you agree with that?
I'm with you so far, yeah.
Okay, 100%.
I think he'd probably go even further.
Okay,
I think he'd probably go even further.
Let's play a conservative here. Okay, you know, let's just do that. Because the city's quality of life is so far out of control now, the man's going to make it worse. And that'll lead to an exodus of affluent people out of New York City and state, taking their tax revenue with them. Your mayor, Raphael, okay? This happened before. This happened before. Giuliani came in after a series of weak mayors and cleaned it up. Could that happen again?
Oh, it could absolutely happen again. We know not only from history that we've been able to clean up a mess far bigger than the one that we have now, but we also have the lessons that were learned during that period of how to do it. We also have the technology to do it much more efficiently and quickly now. So, you know, there really is a key component here, and you put your finger on it earlier, which is that the NYPD has to be front and center in this effort. And that is one of the things that I do think scares voters about this Zohran Mamdani character, because not only is he on the record multiple times saying that he wants to defund and abolish the NYPD, not to mention jails and prisons and all of those things that help keep us safe. But even as he's moderated or pretended to moderate on those positions, you know, he's moderated to a level that is still unsatisfactory. I mean, the most recent thing that I think he said was that he would try to maintain the current force level that the NYPD has. Well, the current force level that the NYPD has is significantly below the ideal.
10,000.
The turn of the century.
It's 10,000 below
at the turn of the century,
what a JPEG's was. Okay, so say that I don't think he's going to win. I think something's going to happen here. And this shooting is going to hurt him, Mamdani. So he gets people's attention, and they're going to vote for a soft on crime guy. It's going to hurt him. But what has to happen in the city? You say the police have to take the lead. I agree. But the police can arrest as many people as they want. If the judges are just kicking them back to the street because of the state legislature, signed by Cuomo, another person running for mayor, then there's no solution. You arrest, guy goes in, judge lets him out. He commits more crimes, right?
That's exactly right. So the bail reform, as well as the two other recent state level reforms to the state's discovery laws, which impose administrative burdens on prosecutors who have to now do significantly more work to bring cases, such that they have to triage and choose which cases they're going to prosecute and which they're going to allow to be dismissed for failure to comply with these regulations. But also there was a juvenile justice bill that was passed in 2018 called the Raise the Age Law, which basically makes it impossible to incarcerate 16 and 17-year-olds who commit
no matter what they do. Right, no matter what they do. All right, so you can't put
That's
it.
exactly
All
right.
right, so what is the solution?
Let me just quickly tell you the worst part about all of this, because even if we were to fix the NYPD, and even if we were to convince the legislature to undo these bad laws, Rikers Island, which is New York City's jail complex, is set to close in August of 2027. And there is not going to be a jail system that is going to be ready to replace it. I don't think that's going
to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. The feds will take it over.
I sure hope not.
Okay, but again, I want solutions here. You say if we can convince Albany to do X and Y, you know what this state is. The highest tax state in the union. It is run by far left people and the Democratic machine. I don't think it's realistic. They may moderate a little bit, because Hochul is really underwater in the governor campaign. But in the city itself, you've had such poor leadership for 12 years. I mean, what is a new mayor going to come in? What is he going to do? What should he do?
I think the most important thing that the mayor can do is keep Jessica Tisch in charge of the NYPD.
Okay, that's the police commissioner. She's done a good job. I agree. Tisch stays.
Invest in hiring at least 7,000 to 10,000 more police officers, and to do it very, very quickly without, and this is the real challenge, without maintaining the lower standards that they have gone to. But nobody wants.
Look, they can't even get people to sign up because the police officers don't want to come into a system where they make an arrest and it doesn't matter. And if you're a police officer in New York City,
demoralized force.
Right, if you make one mistake, you're going to be sued civilly or charged criminally. Who wants to go into a system like that? You're never going to get 10,000 people to come in, ever.
That's exactly right. I mean, and this is the real challenge, because what people don't really understand is that as bad as the recruiting and retention crisis in the NYPD is now, it's about to get significantly worse over the next couple of years, because we have several thousand officers who are going to become eligible for retirement.
And they're going to take it.
Years because I do think that that's the case.
Right.
So there are things, though, that I do think that the next mayor can do to innovate and make the job more attractive to high-quality candidates. And one of those things...
I'm not sure. Not with that legislature. All right, final question. Your opinion is that it has to come from law enforcement. The changes in the city and the quality of life changes have to come from the police themselves. I don't think that's possible. When you have marijuana smoke on every city, on every block in the city, when you have Alvin Bragg and Darcel Clark, DAs of Manhattan and the Bronx, and these people do not want to prosecute most crimes. You know that, I know that, the stats show that, okay? The cops can't do it by themselves. And if you have a weak mayor, and none of the candidates, we asked to have the Republican running, Curtis Sliwa, on as a guest tonight to put out his platform. He wouldn't come on. He don't want to come up against me. He doesn't want to answer specific questions. So I assume a Democrat will win, and that Democrat will just do what the other Democrats, maybe not quite as bad. Cuomo's not going to be as bad as de Blasio, but is he a reformer, Cuomo? No. Last word.
Yeah, I certainly don't think Cuomo's a reformer. In fact, his name is on many of the pieces of legislation that are causing a lot of the problems that we are still dealing with. But I do think it's going to take a mayor that has recognized that the problems lie in Albany, that those laws need to change, and who is committed to investing in the NYPD and putting pressure, using the bully pulpit, on people like Alvin Bragg and Darcel Clark to do more and to do more quickly.
I don't know. This city needs about 6 months of martial law. And that's what it needs. And if it doesn't get it, it's going to be next year at this time 100 times worse than now. And there's going to be disorder in the streets. Raphael, thanks very much for the time. I appreciate it very much. Tax day's over, but for many Americans, the trouble is just beginning. If you missed the April 15th deadline or still owe back taxes, listen up. The IRS is filing more than 5,000 new tax liens every day. And with tools like property seizures, bank levies, wage garnishments, they are applying pressure at levels we have never seen. But Tax Network USA has you covered. Are you self-employed or a business owner? They specialize in cleaning up financial chaos to get you back on track. You can still regain control. The consultation is absolutely free. Acting now could stop penalties, threatening letters, and surprise levies from escalating. So please call 800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/bill. Deadline is passed. Let Tax Network USA help you before the IRS makes their next move. 800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/bill. America is more dangerous than ever with violent crime on the rise. While you could rely on a firearm, using deadly force today can land you in court, costing you years and your life savings, trying to prove you acted in self-defense. FBI data shows 99.9 of all altercations do not require lethal force. That's why smart Americans are turning to Byrna. Proudly made in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Byrna's less lethal self-defense launchers are trusted by law enforcement, private security, more than 600,000 citizens. Byrna launchers fire kinetic rounds and powerful tear gas or pepper projectiles, able to stop a threat up to 60 feet away. No background checks, no waiting periods, delivered right to your door. Take control, be ready. Visit Byrna.com today. That's BYRNA.com, or head to your local Sportsman's Warehouse. Ghislaine Maxwell is making demands. She is in prison, federal prison in Miami, for helping Jeffrey Epstein commit heinous crimes with underage girls. If I were President Trump, I would say, you're not getting a deal. We're not pulling you out of there. You're serving you 20 years, and that's it. We don't need her. Goodbye. All right, that's it. So, and I hope she doesn't get a pardon, because that would be, couldn't come back from that. Let's see, what else I want to tell you about. CNN says the shooter in New York City is possibly white. Roll the tape.
John, stay with me. I know you're obviously getting information here in real time as we're talking. Shimon back with us on the phone on the scene. Shimon, you're here. John's reporting that they do know what he looks like. Male, possibly white, mustache, sunglasses, in that building, isolated to, they believe, to various locations, including upper floors, is where they're focused.
Now, she was referring to John Miller, who does a security analysis for CNN, and he had described the shooter as possibly white. There is nothing wrong with that. They're talking about what the man looks like and who he might be. And I know that Aaron Burnett has been, this is not fair. I would have done the same thing. 1/3 of Americans in 2024 had mental illness or substance abuse disorders. 1/3 of us. This is from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. That's frightening. That means that 1 out of every 3 people you encounter, not really all there, and a lot of them might hurt you. That is a tremendous story. All right, and we as Americans need to grapple with that. I don't know if it's higher here than other countries, but boy, when I said that, I know the addiction thing is out of control because we just enable it, and we shouldn't. But boy, oh boy. Media madness, this is Newsbusters again, newsbusters.org, fabulous job. They are a conservative organization, but that doesn't matter. Their stats are unbelievable. The View, so far this year, has booked 102 guests to talk about politics. 102. Okay? 102 have been liberal. Not one conservative guest on The View. Not one. Disney ABC, I'm telling you, you got to stop it. You're using your power, Disney, to propagandize. It's wrong in every way. Smart Life. Americans say they need $100,000 salary to be financially secure. You need a lot more than that. I'll just tell you. 100,000 is you're not going to be financially secure if you're making 100,000. And here's a stat that's right. When Joe Biden became president, $100,000 is worth now $125,000. So what you could buy with $100,000 when Biden came in, you now need $125,000. Thanks, Joe. Good job, man. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.